She fell asleep. On June 1st, Moscow was engulfed by a hurricane and the flood of the century. This weekend, Moscow city was blown up, roofs were destroyed, and Muscovites were screaming.
Wow, the wind is insane.
18,000 Muscovites were left without power.
What were they saying about tornadoes?
Then?
Mostakov is clearly, visibly shaking.
Uprooted and shattered trees, collapsed cranes, severely torn off roofs. On June 1st, a massive, devastatingly powerful hurricane, intense hailstorm, and severe flood struck Moscow and the Moscow region with tremendous force.
Live report from the scene. Leningradsky Prospect. Ta-ta-ra-ta. Holy moly, this is a disaster.
Oh, my friends. On June 1st, Moscow was flooded. A squally hurricane and rain this weekend flooded Moscow. Moscow is getting more and more flooded. Friends, please like this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and in the comments, let me know where you're watching from. Like, comment, subscribe, and let's get started. June 1st and summer arrived in Moscow unexpectedly beautifully. Hurricanes, squally winds are tearing off roofs, destroying houses, and flooding skyscrapers. Panic and evacuation have begun in Moscow. Boom! Bada boom! Wind, rain, and hail have damaged hundreds of cars and infrastructure facilities. The natural disaster caused a traffic collapse. Buses, trams, and trolleybuses stopped running in Moscow, and a tree fell onto the tracks of one of the Moscow metro lines.
A mega downpour with hail and possibly tornadoes hit Moscow today in the capital of Russia.
The Ministry of Emergency Situations did not warn Muscovites about how dangerous this would be. It's possible that Moscow will go underwater. This looks more like the hurricane and tornado of the century. Strong winds are tearing down billboards, the roofs of Moscow buildings, and toppling trees. Trees have destroyed skyscrapers and cars. There are people injured due to falling trees. Muscovites are in a panic. The hurricane is destroying roofs and shattering windows. Muscovites are screaming. Their tents are being blown away. Hurricanes are raging in Moscow and the Moscow region. An orange level weather warning has been declared there. Nature is returning all the evil to Russia like a boomerang. Friends, please like this video. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. In the comments, write a few kind words in support of Ukraine and also about how Mother Nature is destroying the Russian Federation and its capital. Stay with us. Be on the bright side. The promised tornadoes were recorded in Lobnya, near Moscow. Moscow is flooded. This weekend, Moscow and the surrounding regions were hit by gale-force winds and rain. There's a thunderstorm warning there. An orange level of danger has been declared in Moscow. Boom. Bada boom. Keep flooding, clear skies until Moscow sinks for good.
Guys, those are copper sheets. Oh, 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 oh. Holy moly.
Yeah, that was money flying.
That was money flying.
Huge.
In some places, hail has been observed.
Gale-force winds, thunderstorms, hurricanes, Muscovites are furious. The wind is tearing roofs off houses. Windows are being smashed by trees. Cafeterias and new local buildings are being destroyed.
What were they saying about tornadoes? Van?
The remains are slightly shaky.
Muscovites are in a panic. Their tents are being blown away by the wind and rain. They are furious. They can't understand why this divine punishment has come down on Moscow.
A live report from the scene. Leningradsky Prospect. Ta-ta-ra-ta. The Japanese policemen. This is a disaster. See, they don't clear out the dead wood, and now everyone's to blame. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cars.
This is a boomerang. It's divine providence, retribution for all the evil that Russia has done to our country, Ukraine. Moscow is being flooded, friends. Write in the comments what you think about this.
Muscovites were warned that a hurricane was coming. No one could believe it because the weather was good and the sun was shining. And then at 3 o'clock, a real Armageddon began. Downpour, thunderstorm. The wind speed reached 17 meters per second. The amount of precipitation that fell in just 1 hour almost exceeded half a month's norm.
As a result of the thunderstorm front passing through, power outages are currently being observed in a number of settlements. No reports have been received regarding damage to the integrity of roofs, buildings and structures or disruptions to road traffic. These weather conditions are expected to persist across the Central and Volga federal districts for the next 2 days.
It looks like a huge crater from an explosion. Such a massive tree fell. And here's another one.
Broken trees fell right onto the large playground.
And the wrath of God is intensifying. On June 1st, 2025, hail fell in Moscow. In some districts of Moscow, heavy rain began. Residents of the capital also posted videos of the hail. Stones from the sky are destroying Russians. According to the Yandex weather precipitation map, a squally downpour and hurricane are moving through the southwest and south of the capital, while in the center and also in the northeast of the Moscow region, there are walls of rain and hurricanes, particularly in Vidnoye and Korolyov. The Ministry of Emergency Situations has issued a warning about thunderstorms and squally winds in the Moscow region. There is a yellow hazard level there.
Logan. There is panic in Moscow, the hurricane of the century for Russia. Wildfires have left thousands of Russians without electricity, heat, or homes. Everything is burning. Everything that can possibly burn is burning. You can't see anything. Just my whole life I put so much into it, just without anything. Look, cars are fleeing because their tires are melting from the fire. Medical region company. I don't have a passport, we have nothing. Everything we had burned down. We only managed to save ourselves.
This is karma. A state of emergency has been declared in Russia. More than 150,000 Russians are without power. A large-scale evacuation has begun.
The roads are blocked. Everything is closed. There is no way to get anywhere.
Massive fires and hurricanes.
Saragash district. The fire is raging right along the road.
Dozens of villages are engulfed in flames. The fire has come dangerously close to major cities. The most difficult situation is in Krasnoyarsk Krai and the Republic of Khakassia.
They're honking. We're running away because the flames are coming toward us. Oh my God, just like that, just like that. There it is, the flames right next to us.
Every voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine Today. Join us now.
People are being swept away. Houses are being destroyed. A hurricane-force wind has hit several regions of Russia at once, and powerful fires are destroying Siberia.
I put my whole life into this, so much effort, and now I have nothing left.
Boom, beta, boom. Burn, burn brightly so you don't go out. Friends, please like this video. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, Dasha Shasliva. Write a few kind words in support of Ukraine in the comments and let us know where you're watching from. Like, comment, subscribe, and let's get started.
Oh my, wow, Dad, really? Honestly? I mean, seriously?
The elements are raging all at once in Kuzbas, Khakassia, Altai Krai, and Krasnoyarsk Krai. Fires fueled by gale-force winds are rapidly spreading and destroying entire villages in Siberia. Hurricane-force winds and heavy rains have also hit the Kemerovo, Novosibirsk, and Irkutsk regions. According to Russia's Ministry of Energy, power outages caused by the bad weather have affected more than 150,000 Russians.
The situation remains difficult even though the wind has died down. You can see it's still present. Moreover, according to the forecast, over the next 7 days, wind speeds could reach up to 20 meters per second, which is more than enough to cause steppe fires. So once again, I want to urge all our residents to be extremely careful with fire.
Hurricane-force winds have struck Siberia. It is tearing off roofs, snapping power lines, and contributing to the rapid spread of wildfires. Dozens of villages are engulfed in flames. The fire has come dangerously close to major cities. The most difficult situation is in Krasnoyarsk Krai and the Republic of Khakassia. In the Irkutsk region, 17 houses have already been lost. 100,000 people are without power. And in Krasnoyarsk Krai, 33,000 are without electricity. And in Khakassia, there are officially 40 injured, dozens of fires, and a fire front nearly 80 kilometers long. Landscape forest fires are raging near Abakan and Minusinsk. The fire is approaching homes, people are being urgently evacuated, and those who remain are being told to fight the flames with shovels, reports the Telegram channel CHTD. In Krasnoyarsk, the wind tore off roofs. A woman died after falling from a balcony. Along the road to the airport, a wall of fire has come right up to the runway. In many regions of Siberia, there are widespread power and water outages.
Left of our former life. The fire, driven by hurricane winds, devoured both the house and all our belongings. Cars, furniture, clothes, now just ashes. We tried to put it out. Literally, the whole neighborhood helped, but the Maligin family and their 6-year-old daughter lost absolutely everything.
In general, even without documents, I can't restore my SIM card because I don't have my passport. We have nothing. Everything we owned burned down. We only managed to save ourselves.
All that's left are tears and thousands of questions. What now? The Antoshkin family also lost their home. That's the next street over. Victoria is the mother of 2 underage children. During the hurricane, they took shelter with relatives in Abakan. Now, essentially, there's nowhere to return to. Ruins and the lonely shell of a stove.
The roof caught fire and that was it. Everything burned down in 5 minutes. The dog burned, the chickens burned, all the buildings, everything. Nothing is left. Of course, it was terrifying. We managed to leave the house with the kids in advance when the grass first caught fire.
The neighboring field, specifically the one from which the wind blew toward the residential houses, became a conduit for the fires. Sayana Kizigasheva was among the first to lose her home. The 2-story house and all their belongings were destroyed by the flames in a matter of minutes. Now there is only blackened earth all around.
The fire started at the other end of the street. I got scared. I grabbed my child and went into the city. When I came back, the house was already on fire.
In the Vesna gardening community, a total of 5 houses were destroyed. That means 5 families lost everything at once. 14 plots were damaged to some extent. In Alesapagov, 2 houses burned down. Overall, during the storm in the Ust-Abakan district, 17 private houses and 6 apartment buildings were damaged, as well as 3 kindergartens, 6 community centers, and 2 farms. The authorities have formed a commission to assess the scale of the damage and to compile a list of those who need financial assistance.
We are determining the amount of damage, doing what we can. If our own financial resources are not enough, then of course we will turn to the Republic for help. That's for sure. Right now we are helping people in any way we can. If someone has nowhere to stay during this difficult time and they have no relatives, we provide them with social housing.
As for the causes, of course there are many factors involved. These include hurricane-force winds, as well as the fire prevention measures that authorities should take in advance, or the neglect of such measures. Abandoned plots overgrown with dry weeds pose a major danger at times like these. However, each of these plots has its own owner.
The strictest measures will be taken. We have already exchanged information with the prosecutor's office of the Ust-Abakan district. We will be preparing documents to carry out municipal land inspections.
Obviously, for many residents of Khakassia, the recent hurricane and fires were a real shock. The terrifying and uncontrollable force of nature turned into a dreadful inferno. Now there's a new threat, this time with a very human face. At night, people have started noticing looters.
They saw that we were watching, so they backed up. Sometimes they turn off their headlights while they're driving and suddenly turn the lights off. And then they turned around and shone their high beams right into our windows. Basically, they're checking to see who's home.
For the authorities, one of the main tasks right now is assessing the damage and helping those affected. Anyone who cares can help with this. On the screen, you can see the personal number of the head of the Ust-Abakan district and the Unified Emergency Dispatch Service. You can call to get more details. People with children have been left with almost nothing, so any help here will not go amiss. And it's easier to get through hardship together than alone. Konstantin Kravtsov, Karim Taguzhekov, News, Khakassia.
Moreover, well, I've seen it myself when I was walking, when there's a grass fire and residents start pulling grass by the fence. Of course, all of this needs to be done in a timely manner. That is, we are all the owners of our own plots, whether summer cottages or residential properties. And of course, to avoid disaster, safety measures around the property need to be taken promptly. I want to urge residents, first of all, to be careful when dealing with fire and the elements. But on the other hand, we should also do our utmost to help municipalities with the improvement of populated areas.
There can be no peaceful truce or peace agreement there. That's why I really like the President's words when he said that we won't just pressure them, we'll finish them off. That's exactly how we need to act.
A compromise is always possible, for example, cremation or burial.
Well, that's certainly true, but that's not really a compromise. That's simply the result. Once the desired outcome is actually achieved, yes, that's...
How else with Nazis?
Right, I think so too. In other words, shoot and hang them. There are no other options.
Maybe we should perhaps actually use tactical nuclear weapons on that city where the decision-making center was located.
Wiesbaden? The fascists were there once too. They had their headquarters there as well.
In any case, well, how should I put it? I would say that tactical nuclear weapons, that's the king's last argument.
The less strategic one?
And you always have to keep it ready. And its use?
Strategic, yes, but tactical is fine. A high-altitude detonation, powerful electromagnetic pulse, the radiation would be low. But it would fry all the electronics. That's fine.
And as for its use, really, from the decision to actual deployment, it's just a matter of a few minutes. I say this as a specialist.
And as for the fact that the special military operation is the right thing and President Putin is the best president, well, actually, it's because Ukraine started all of this first. That's all there is to it.
And what do you think? Should people who have a different opinion and write about it on the internet be imprisoned?
Navalny wasn't imprisoned for that. But those people who write that Russian soldiers are dog shit. They should all be taken out, yes, imprisoned and castrated. Otherwise, in your opinion, yes. And those military personnel who, well, not even military, but people who object, well, the special military operation is bad. No, that's their opinion, damn it. But the main thing is not to shit on our soldiers, damn it. Otherwise, nobody cares.
Well, it's their right, after all, as you might say, if you think about it, to comment negatively.
During wartime, speaking out against the war within the country is not welcomed by any government. And since it's in power, yes, and doesn't welcome it, that's the government's decision, right? We ourselves chose this government, so we must accept all its decisions. And in 100 years, our descendants will say who we really were. Well, logically, that's correct, isn't it?
Should people be put in prison for comments on social media against the special military operation and other topics?
Well, of course, they should be shot, stabbed and shot for being against the special military operation. You always have to fight against fascists. No matter what they call themselves or where they are, then no one would speak out. Although then we wouldn't know that they are our obvious enemies.
On social media?
Freedom of speech. Yes. So there's no need to put any of us in jail. We live in a free country in Russia. Glory to Putin.
Guys, awesome.
I won't answer that question. Greetings.
Greetings, Vladimir Ilyich.
Have you ever been to Wiesbaden?
No, sir.
Well, no need to. What would you do there after a nuclear attack?
Yeah. Vladimir Wolfovich, by the way, I completely agree with you, and you know that. And yesterday in your evening program, you touched on this topic, and now you quite rightly noted that, well, as they say, to take moral responsibility for the use of nuclear weapons is a sin. But an even greater sin, of course, is ultimately to lose a war, and especially to lose your homeland. That's why the situation is developing in such a way that, well, probably this is the most, in this sense, the right path. Because this European fascism needs to be stopped once and for all and uprooted with fire, with ashes, with nuclear means and so on, because they've really gone way too far.
But what I would like to note in this regard, again, from a general strategic standpoint, and in terms of the overall development of the situation, as well as preparation, so to speak, for upcoming conflicts. After all, by and large, drone strikes on targets within our country are already being carried out across, let's say, the entire European part. And now the armed forces of Ukraine are being equipped with drones that have a flight range of 3,000 kilometers. And that already reaches Novosibirsk. So what needs to be said in this regard? That the very concept of a rear area is disappearing. And in general, the issue can be framed this way. Well, all right.
That is a characteristic feature of modern wars, of course.
And what does the disappearance of the rear as such actually mean? Then the question arises, where do you store reserves of material resources? The same ammunition, fuel, lubricants. After all, you can't just scatter a box under every bush and a canister here and there across the country. And the issue really is that this has become one of the most pressing problems right now. We need to look several decades ahead here, and that's no exaggeration. And well, maybe we should even ask ourselves this question. Can we solve this problem with the technologies we currently have? Because let's be honest, it's not always possible to solve this just through organizational or staffing measures. Once again, I want to emphasize that after all, you can't assign an anti-aircraft missile regiment to every single fuel reservoir in the end. Basically, this is a problem that needs to be discussed at the broadest levels, both in open forums and behind closed doors, because, well, the outcome of future conflicts, and to put it simply, the resilience of the state during armed struggle depends on it. For now, it's just the Ukrainian side. I'm not saying who will be involved in the next war, how things will turn out, where it will all happen, or in what way. What's important to understand here is something else. For example, right now, strikes are being carried out against fuel and energy infrastructure targets. And in fact, there are quite a lot of such facilities in the country, facilities on which, well, the entire functioning and viability of the state depend.
You've corrupted the children and you're shoving the first bite into their mouths. Now check yourselves. You've sat down at the table. At the table, let's say grandma has cooked borscht. Sitting at the table are her daughter and her husband. That is the son-in-law of the grandma who cooked the borscht. And the children are sitting at the table. The first bowl is being served. Who does grandma serve the first bowl to? If it's to the children, then she's a criminal. If it's to her daughter, then she's a criminal twice over. To her daughter's husband, the man sitting at the table, the father of her grandchildren, the first bite and the first bowl go to him. Then to her daughter, then to herself, then to the children. What do? You shove all the sweets into the mouths of your pups, who then grow up into dogs and turn on you, start using drugs, sleeping around, indulging in debauchery, losing their minds, jumping off rooftops.
Why did they do that? Why? We never crossed over into Ukraine. Why the hell would we need it? We lived peacefully and we will continue to live that way.
Do we consider that this 30-day ceasefire has already begun, or will additional preparation be needed?
We believe that this ceasefire, which was proposed by the President of the United States of America, has already been violated by the Kyiv regime. How the American side will ultimately deal with this deranged, dangerous terrorist rabble, excuse me, I must say, is without a doubt a very big question.
I can only welcome such terms.
How they will manage to rein them in or steer them in any direction at all, that's a big question, you understand? And we understand perfectly well why it's about energy. Yes, because it's about energy. Everything started with energy back in 2022, when Biden said that Nord Stream 1 and 2 would be destroyed by any means necessary, responding to a clarifying question from an American journalist who was shocked by such a statement from the leader of what they themselves call the democratic world. And 6 months later, it happened. This is essentially training people with an extremist mindset to focus not just on a red flag, but on a specific piece of meat. They themselves nurtured this monster, which now deliberately targets energy facilities. Do you understand? So that's the question. How are they going to deal with that, I don't know, with that Frankenstein they've created? How are they going to handle it?
Friends, please like this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Dasha Shaslivaya. We work for an audience all over the world so that people know the truth about Russian aggression, about Russia's war against Ukraine. That's why every comment and every subscription helps ensure that as many people as possible around the world see this video. Stay with us, stay on the bright side. Friends, glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes. We will definitely win.